Welcome into the Michigan Football Report. I am James Yoder, the face of Michigan football media. We all saw the news first thing this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Urban Meyer stepping down, retiring as Ohio State's head coach. It won't be Bob Stoops taking over, some big name that will be forced to be reckoned with. It's Ryan Day, the offensive coordinator the past 2 years, also the man that stepped in for 3 games as acting coach at the beginning of this 2018 season. And that brings us to Zack Harrison, the biggest recruit left on Michigan or Ohio State's 2019 recruiting board. And does he have a relationship with Ryan Day at all? I have heard that he has almost no relationship, Zack Harrison and Ohio State's new head coach, Ryan Day. So I'm giving this one 3 Harbaugh heads. Now, when Urban Meyer got suspended, the whole Zack Smith and Courtney Smith and that article and everything that came out over the summer, which led to suspension, the word was that that was the thing that helped Michigan in this recruitment and maybe pushed him ahead throughout the season, ultimately leading up to him giving a silent commitment in October. But could it be possible that helps Ohio State now that Urban Meyer is gone? From what I've been told, he has very little relationship at all with Ryan Day. They've met each other, they've had their casual pleasantries, but the man holding the cards for Ohio State is their longtime defensive line coach, Larry Johnson, who was at Penn State for 20-plus years, has been with Ohio State under the entire Urban Meyer tenure there. Meyer's handling, like I said, of the Zack Smith, Courtney Smith situation helped Michigan out. Now that he's gone, can Ryan Day bring Zack Harrison back into the fold? Well, I was told, again, they have no relationship, almost no relationship. They're not texting, they're not calling. If Zack Harrison decides to go to Ohio State, it's going to be because, 1, he doesn't think that Michigan's going to be competitive with Ohio State in the future, unlikely given the change of head coach. 2 is that their defensive line coach, Larry Johnson, is just a better recruiter than Jim Harbaugh and all the other coaches that Michigan has thrown at Zack Harrison, the 5-star prospect from right outside of Columbus. So 3 Harbaugh heads on that one. All right, speaking of Zack Harrison, is Harbaugh visiting him this week? I am giving this one 4 Harbaugh heads. It is F-A-C-K. Jim Harbaugh will be in Zack Harrison's home on Thursday, likely his school as well, taking the old dog, Michigan's probably their best recruiter, maybe in school history, given his long tenure with Michigan, 3 different stops coaching at the school going back to the early 90s. Greg Madison, the defensive line coach, would be the position coach for Zack Harrison, and Al Washington, who has been with Michigan for less than 1 year. Washington, Madison, last week they were down visiting with Harrison at his school. 3 days after that, Ohio State blowout loss. And the biggest news that has come out about Zack Harrison over the last week is he reportedly, this is a rumor, no Harbaugh heads on this one, told a Michigan 2019 recruit that, hey, this is my hometown school, Ohio State. I can't go to Michigan if you guys are going to lose, if I was joining you, are going to lose them every year. Would never be able to show my face at Thanksgiving or Christmas again. I can't come to Michigan and be embarrassed. So will the head coaching change make a difference? Can Jim Harbaugh close the deal? This will be the most impactful. It's so much more impactful now that Ryan Day is the head coach. If you can, in his third week as acting, I was coaching, waiting for another month or so. If you can take the number 1 prospect from the state of Ohio, from 20 minutes outside of Ohio Stadium, from Ryan Day, before he even officially gets the job, that would be huge. That would be much bigger than getting a guy like Rashawn Gary or even Shea Patterson over as a transfer. So 4 Harbaugh heads in this one. Thursday is the day, folks. If there's any big news that comes out of it, you know who's going to have it. It's going to be the face of Michigan football, James Yoder. Make sure you follow me on Twitter or watch the Michigan Football Report throughout the weekend into next week to let you know what's going on with the Zack Harrison situation. All right, this is a subject we've got to talk about here. Does Urban Meyer retiring help Michigan? I am just perplexed with people who root for Ohio State, want to see them undefeated, root for them to win games so Michigan can beat them at their best, and that Harbaugh wanted to beat Urban Meyer, blah, blah, blah. Of course it's good for Michigan. Are you out of your friggin' mind? 4 Harbaugh heads on this one. I just am perplexed when I see people on Twitter. Jim Harbaugh is a competitive guy. He was going to take Urban Meyer out. He wanted to beat Ohio State at their best, blah, 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 blah. I really cannot comprehend where people don't get about Urban Meyer. He is one of the 3, 4, 5 best coaches in college football history. Not right now, in history. The 4th biggest winning percentage, 3 national titles, the 4th highest winning percentage in college football history, currently the highest among active coaches, way better than Nick Saban. You've got to go, I would guess your average 25-year-old person out there couldn't even tell you who the hell these guys coach for. Newt Rockne, we're going back about 90 years. Frank Lehigh in Notre Dame, 25, 30 years after that, middle of the century. And then Dwight Perry, Bowling Green's coach, didn't even get 100 games in, although Jim Harbaugh's father, Jack, did coach for Dwight Perry at Bowling Green at 855. And then right there, Urban Meyer, much more games coached than any of those guys, obviously in the era with 12 regular season games, a playoff, and conference championship games. Urban Meyer is something Ohio State will never have as long as football is being played. They will never have a coach this good again, ever. And I've said on Twitter in the last couple of days, Michigan does not have a Jim Harbaugh problem. Michigan and Jim Harbaugh have an Urban Meyer problem. I don't think Michigan was ever going to beat Ohio State as long as Urban Meyer was the head coach there. And you people sitting there on Twitter, on Facebook saying, oh, it's too bad we didn't get a chance to really force him to retire and whoop his butt. Next year was the year. I gotta do this. Go to Google right now, type in good eye doctors near me, because you have terrible eyesight when it comes to watching football. Michigan is not in the same galaxy as Ohio State as long as Urban Meyer is the coach. I know there's been a couple close games. There's also been 2 blowouts in 2015 and 2018. And frankly, I don't see it getting any better. If you remember the recruiting classes Ohio State has had the last 2 years, 17, 18, much better than Michigan has had. The players aren't getting any worse, and if Urban Meyer was going to come back, I guarantee they would have beat Michigan next season. I guarantee they would have beat Michigan in 2020. So there's no good things that can ever come from Urban Meyer being at Ohio State. Ryan Day, if I would bet every dollar I could get loaned to me that Ryan Day will have nowhere near the record, both from championship perspective and win perspective, especially against Michigan, that Urban Meyer has had. So 7 straight for Urban Meyer against Michigan. The only win Michigan's had in the last 15 seasons, they won in 2013, the 15 years since then, is the damn 1 year where Ohio State had interim coach Luke Fickell as their head coach. Is that what you want? Then complain more about on Twitter about how Harbaugh was just about to beat Urban Meyer in his 5th year. It wasn't going to happen. So let's ask the question here. Are you happy Urban Meyer is retiring? Type yes if you have a brain. Type no if you're an absolute moron. That is me, James Yoder, telling you, you people, if you want Urban Meyer to stay at Ohio State, you might as well just go start rooting for another school, because you have no idea what it's going to take for Michigan to get anywhere near getting a playoff appearance. 2 times close. Who's the guy that kept him out? Urban Meyer, 2016, 2018. You win that game against Ryan Day, you're in the damn playoffs. So answer the question, why for yes and for I don't have a brain. All right, let's keep it rolling. After my Urban Meyer rant, is Devin Bush torn on the NFL draft? I've seen the blog boys and the pace sites put this out there because Devin Bush talked to the media and he went down to some of the awards banquets and was asked about the draft. And I don't know, I got to think about it, all this stuff. I'm giving this one Harbaugh had very little, if any, chance that Devin Bush will return to Michigan in 2019. You've got the 2018 Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, maybe the best linebacker in school history. I know people are going to argue all kinds of other players, but as far as having an impact, as far as being the unquestioned best player in the defense back-to-back years, I think Devin Bush, for me, in a 2-year window, is the best linebacker I've seen. We're going back 25-ish years, 30 years maybe covering Michigan, following Michigan football as a hardcore fan. The team captain as a junior. His dad's on staff. His dad was a former high-level football player. There's almost no chance he comes back in 2019. The only chance I could see him coming back is for some reason his dad has more stacks, cash stacked up than we think, and convinces him that you don't want to go out 0-3 against Ohio State. Come back with your boys and win one. Now that Ryan, no chance of Myers there. Now that Ryan Day's there, you guys can go out a champion, a Big Ten champion, maybe national, although unlikely next season. So where would Devin Bush rank in the NFL draft should he come out? Well, as you see here, Devin Bush, Rashawn Gary, very highly ranked by ESPN's Mel Kiper in his latest big board. We see Ben Bredesen right there has already said that he is going to come back in 2019, so no chance he's going pro right now. We'll take a look at some of Michigan's other players that are on the draft board for Mel Kiper and where they rank. We've got Karan Higdon, we've got David Long as the number 7 cornerback, we've got Lavert Hill as the number 8 cornerback on Mel Kiper's big board, both underclassmen. And then you see there Shea Patterson, not ranked by Mel Kiper right now in his top 10 quarterbacks. We're going to talk about Shea here in a few moments in his NFL draft prospects. So you saw the guys there, 8 players on Mel Kiper's big board in some regard, but we're going to talk a little more about some of these other ones. Devin Bush, though, will not be returning to Michigan in 2019. I can almost guarantee you that. So that is the word from James Yoder on Devin Bush. But how about Josh Metellus and Devin Bush? We're talking a little more Devin Bush. Are they going to play in a bowl game? Both were asked by media this week. Neither were very committal, although Bush did say he plans to play in the bowl game. He wants to talk to some people afterwards. I'm giving this one 3 Harbaugh heads. I think both these guys are going to play. I think Bush, given the fact that his dad is on the staff as a defensive analyst for Michigan. The fact that he is so highly ranked as a player next year, I think he wants to continue. Kind of his draft stock is on the upswing. I think he wants to prove on a national stage again how good of a player he is, impress some of these scouts. He's not going to be able to go to a Senior Bowl or anything like that, being only a junior. So Devin Bush, it seems like he's going to play. Josh Metellus would not commit, but I don't think Metellus is going pro. I think he's had a really good year. He may be up for a 2018 Yodes Award for the best, most improved Michigan football player this year. But sounds like these guys are going to play. 3 Harbaugh heads on that one. Josh Metellus, Devin Bush, both asked this week, will they play? Neither one gave a full committal, but it seems that it's trending that way. 3 Harbaugh heads. Did you see the Michigan Bowl show on Sunday? We broke it live. Michigan will be playing Florida for the 90th time in the last 15 years. I'm kind of sick of this matchup and not excited about it at all, and won't go to the game because this is the 3rd time in Jim Harbaugh's short 4-year tenure. I mean, I'm going to go look this up. I probably should before the show, but I would bet there's at least 4 or 5 Big Ten teams that Jim Harbaugh has played less in 4 years than he has Florida. This will be the 3rd matchup. 7.5-point favorites Michigan is over the Gators in over-under 51. This Florida team, watch out for them. They're not those pushover Jim McElwain and Florida teams. They beat LSU, and so Michigan better come to play and certainly needs all the players they can get. 7.5-point favorites. They need their guys to play. Rashawn Gary won't be in the game. Need Bush, need Metellus, need Hill, need all the players that could go pro to have the number 7 Wolverines beat Florida down there in Atlanta on December 29th in the Peach Bowl. And if you are wanting to bet on college football, you know the guys, Bet DSI. We've been working with them all football season long. Got the promo code GOBLUE extended throughout the rest of the regular season through bowl season. 120% deposit bonus. We've had hundreds, maybe thousands at this point, of Michigan fans sign up with Bet DSI, have not heard a bad word about their experience. Michigan football fans are betting with Bet DSI, and you can too, and get 120% bonus on your first deposit you make with them. Put in 100, another 120. Put in 50, you got another 60 bones to bet with through Bet DSI. chatsports.com/bet. Keep it rolling with the Michigan football rumor. Shea Patterson, is he now sitting at 50-50 on whether or not to go to the NFL draft? I'm giving this one 3 Harbaugh heads. Now, spoke to someone yesterday, and it was actually fairly surprising. They said before the Ohio State game, it was more like 90-10 that Shea was going to the NFL. He had pretty much made up his mind, thought that they were going to go in. I don't think Shea Patterson really understood the talent and the just sheer awesomeness of everything that Urban Meyer put together at Ohio State. He thought they were going to roll in there, beat Ohio State, go to the playoffs, be an all-time legend at Michigan as a quarterback that comes in, beats Ohio State, goes to the playoff. Shea, didn't happen. And also not getting the draft love that he was expecting before coming into Michigan. So you see his stats there, good stats, not all time like I thought they would be. I think the Michigan offense was severely limited this year by Jim Harbaugh's conservative play calling. Shea got the job done a little bit on the ground this year, almost 300 yards rushing. If you take out sacks, he would be nearly 400 yards rushing. But Shea Patterson, 50-50. It's seeming that he's going to have a tough decision to make. I don't expect to hear anything from him until at least a week, if not 2, after Michigan's bowl game. Is going to have right up until the middle of January to do so. So Shea Patterson, I'm calling it 50-50 at this point. 3 Harbaugh heads that he is torn I think he's leaning towards wanting to go to the NFL draft, but his Michigan legacy and his NFL draft grade are holding him back, giving him a lot of things to reconsider. And with that, I want to ask you guys, watching on Chat Sports YouTube channel, my Periscope, aka Twitter, and on Michigan Wolverines by Chat Sports on Facebook Live. Great Shea Patterson's season in 2018. A, B, C, D, or F. Now, the naysayers in you will say, it's an F, you lost to Ohio State. But let's be real here. The quarterback situation with Michigan in 2017 was maybe the second worst in the school's history outside of that fateful disaster of 2008 season with Stephen Threet and Nick Sheridan. John O'Korn, Wilton Spate, Brandon Peters couldn't hold a candle to where Shea Patterson was from Michigan this year. So I'm going to go ahead and give him a B+. I think had he beat Ohio State, it would have been an A. And I'm excited to see him come back next year. If he does, and Michigan allows him to throw 30-plus times a game, which they did not do this year, it was like 19 times a game, you've got 3 wide receivers in Black, Collins, and Donovan Peoples-Jones, Zack Gentry at tight end, plus guys like Oliver Martin and some others that can make an impact. Michigan can be a passing team next year, so I hope Shea Patterson comes back, takes that B+ grade, makes it an A+ with a big-time season for Michigan next year. All right, let's talk about the defense. Let's talk about underclassmen on the defense that might be going pro. I have been told it is 80+% that Lavert Hill and David Long, Michigan's starting cornerbacks, will both leave early and go to the NFL after the bowl game. And there's a chance, we're going to talk about this later, that one or more of those guys might not even play in the bowl game, which you all know I think is a big-time mistake. So Lavert Hill, David Long, two-year starting cornerbacks for both of them, both true juniors. That 2016 Michigan football recruiting class that is actually on the defensive side of the ball paid huge dividends for this program. 3 Harbaugh heads on these 2 gentlemen going pro after the bowl game. Now, the biggest challenge for both these guys is they are not as highly projected as they both thought they would be coming into this year. I'm told that David Long actually has the better pro measurables and the higher grade from a lot of NFL GMs, but even at that, he'll be lucky to be a second-round pick, maybe third, where Lavert Hill is mid-third to fourth as of right now. So those guys apparently leaning towards going pro and are hoping that they get a better grade than they're currently getting with Michigan kind of leading up into bowl season. Lavert Hill, David Long, don't expect them back in Ann Arbor in 2019. All right, I am James Yoder, the face of Michigan football media. Want to talk about a little show break here. We're going to have some more rumors for you in a second, but is Jim Harbaugh, is he maybe the next big-time college football coach out with Urban Meyer leaving? Could Jim Harbaugh be right behind him? I don't think so, but you know who does? The sports books, most notably BetDSI, has put out some odds for the next Green Bay Packers coach, and well, who do you see there at number 4? It is one Jim Harbaugh. Now, some of these names, I don't even know if the average football fan knows who they are. John DeFilippo from the Vikings, offensive coordinator, yada, yada. A lot of, some retreads in there. McDaniels coming back, Adam Gase, Jim Harbaugh, Lincoln Riley, 2 hot college football coaches. Jim Harbaugh, obviously, with the 4 years of success, 3 NFC championship games already. Could he go in and take Aaron Rodgers, take that Packers team from losing the playoffs in the first and second round pretty much every year, get them back to the Super Bowl like they were in the 2010 season? I don't think he would. I think he's actually at Michigan for life unless, now with Ryan Day gone, they win a couple national championships or maybe just one. I don't think it's very likely, but the sports books continue to list Jim Harbaugh as a candidate for every NFL coaching job that comes up. There is something to it. If you remember back in August, BetDSI put out odds for who's going to be the next head coach at Ohio State, who's going to be the next coach at Ohio State in 2019. And Urban Meyer wasn't very sure that he was going to be, and you actually had Ryan Day and Matt Campbell from Iowa State, very high odds. So they clearly knew something back then. Obviously, they know something now. Jim Harbaugh, you never know, folks. You never know. Just like Urban Meyer had never stayed anywhere past 6 years, made to 7 with Ohio State. Could Harbaugh, 4 years in, start looking around? I don't think so, but I want to know from you guys. And if you want to bet on these things, if you think McDaniels, Filippo, Adam Gase, Lincoln Riley is the man to be the Packers head coach, or you want to bet on college football, NFL, NBA, reminder to use that promo code GOBLUE at chatsports.com/bet. If you do it, 120% deposit bonus. Put in 50, you get another 60 to bet with. Put in 100, 120, you put in 500, $600 free. Don't tell anybody. Tell a couple friends, though, if you want to. BetDSI, Chat Sports, hooking you up Let's keep it rolling with the Michigan football rumors. Is more than Rashawn Gary. Will there be more players than Rashawn Gary sitting out the bowl game? Everyone who has talked to the media, all the underclassmen and the seniors like Karan Higdon and Chase Winovich, they're all getting asked. No one's committing really either way, although Devin Bush did say he would, but then kind of walk that back just a little bit. But I'm giving this one 3 Harbaugh heads, and the reason is I actually think that there could be 2 more players that might sit out that game. I've got a good idea who one will be. It'll either be Lavert Hill or David Long, one of the cornerbacks. I'm kind of leaning towards David Long, though I don't have a good enough source on that he would be the one. But why is this trend? We all know the guy who started this trend. It was actually Dylan McCaffrey's brother, Christian McCaffrey, a couple years back, sat out the bowl game for Stanford. Leonard Fournette then did the same thing that same season. It's continued on. Jake Buck got hurt. Jalen Smith from Notre Dame got hurt, but very rare exceptions. So now it is the thing to do for college football players to sit out a bowl game if you're going to the NFL draft. So it sounds like Michigan will have multiple players. Let's take a look at the guys who potentially could do it. You've got Devin Bush. You've got Rashawn Gary. Those are obvious ones with Rashawn Gary, number 8 overall on Kuiper's big board. He has already said he is sitting out the bowl game. You've got Ben Bredeson. Said he's coming back to Michigan next year, so unlikely he sits out the bowl game. Chase Winovich there. I don't know about Winovich. I think he would play, but you never know. Keep it rolling here. Karan Higdon, David Long, Lavert Hill, and Shea Patterson. If Patterson goes pro, would he sit at the bowl game? Unlikely, but that would put Michigan in quite a pickle with Dylan McCaffrey not being able to play. Would it be Brandon Peters? Would it be true freshman Joe Milton? Be interested to see. So let's take a look at the 8 players that are potential to sit out the bowl game. Bush and Gary, I think Bush will play. Rashawn Gary will not. I think Ben Bredeson will because he said he's coming back. I think Chase Winovich will play, although I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't, I guess, because he's had a few nagging injuries. I would be disappointed in him if he didn't play because how much he's meant to kind of like the heart and soul of Michigan football and the opportunity he was given by Brady Hoke first and then Jim Harbaugh. Karan Higdon, I believe, would play. I don't think there's any reason he would not play. He's not projected to be a first-round pick, nor is he an early entry. Long and Hill are the 2 ones I would most worry about here. I think David Long is probably not going to play. If he doesn't play, could Lavert Hill. And the guy that's not even on this list because he's not currently rated as a top 10 in his position, Josh Metellus, if he goes pro, which I don't think he will, I think I could definitely see him as a guy sitting out the bowl game and not putting himself at risk. Also another player, Khalid Hudson, not ranked by Mel Kiper, but has an opportunity to go pro. I think he'll come back, and if he comes back, he'll be playing in the game. So keep an eye out for this. I think we'll know here in the next week as Michigan starts their December 29th, 2018 bowl game practices against Florida this coming week. So we'll let you know when we find out. All right. I saw this one. It's on one of the message boards, the blog boards. Someone sent me a link, asked me about it on Twitter, and then I see some people on Twitter talking about like this is news. It's like, oh my gosh, oh yes, Jim McElwain's gone. Ed Warinner's the offensive coordinator. Now look, he changed his job title to running game coordinator in his bio. That means he got promoted, right? Well, 4 Harbaugh heads that does say that, F-A-C-K, but it's been there all year, folks. I don't know why this stuff sometimes that's out there forever all of a sudden become news. Another aside, I saw one of the blog boys out there debating like up until an hour before Urban Meyer went and did his press conference at 2 Eastern that Ohio State was going to be interviewing and pursuing Bob Stoops even after Ohio State already said Ryan Day was the head coach. So sometimes the blog boys are about a day behind the news cycle. But Ed Warinner, this is his bio. It's been in there since August. This is not new. I'm not sure if they don't put it on his bio with the University of Michigan's website, mgoblue.com, but this has been his bio since really the day he took the job, I think. But I first noticed it over the summer. Offensive line coach, RGC. That doesn't mean like running girls cross country. It means running game coordinator, University of Michigan. So I'm not sure why people think this is some sort of news or anything like that. But Ed Warinner, no promotion, no change. He's been the running game coordinator all year. So don't let the blog boys try and convince you that there's news. I'm sure they're all going to write the same article about it now that someone brought it to their attention. So that is that. Ed Warinner, same job as he has had all year. I am James Yoder, the face of Michigan football media. That was your Michigan football rumors roundup coming off Ohio State's Urban Meyer. Heading to the golf course. He's going to retire, and we'll be back tomorrow with Michigan football news, and we will see you then.